From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 1961, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, April 22, 2015. The latest IARU Monitoring Service newsletter is out with news concerning intruders into the ham bands. Here's Amateur Radio Newsline Stephen Kinford, N8WB.
Among the items covered in this latest issue are the Russian channel markers that have shown up in the amateur radio high-frequency bands. One of these is on 3.756 kilohertz from Tuapse on the northeast shore of the Black Sea. Its signal is audible every evening with the actual transmission mode being A3E, which means it puts out a carrier and both sidebands modulated by short tone bursts, which are called pip tones, called master and slave. Earlier reports had pegged its location as being in the Ukraine, but those proved to be inaccurate. Another intruder reported was Radio Air Atria, which appeared on 7.175 MHz with very strong signals in Europe, but with a rather unstable carrier. Also, that an Australian over-the-horizon radar has been heard operating daily on 21.295 MHz using different sweep rates.
You'll find a link to the newsletter in this week's Amateur Radio Newsline report. The ARRL reports that the sponsors of the 2015 Global Amateur Radio Emergency Conference, or Garrick 2015, have announced that the event has been canceled due to a lack of interest. Seppo Sisato, OH1VR, said that Garrick 2015 registrations were too few and the decision was largely financial. Garrick was set to mark its 10th anniversary this June in Tampere, Finland, where the first Garrick was held. A G2 class geomagnetic storm erupted Friday, April 10th, spawning aurora borealis across the Canadian border into the United States as far south as Colorado. Amateur Radio Newsline's Heather Emby, KB3TZD.
At the time the alert was issued, solar storm conditions were still underway, with a possibility for more to come. On Sunday the 12th, forecasters at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration boosted the odds of an M-class solar flare to 40%. The reason given was a large and potentially active sunspot region that was emerging over the sun's northeastern limb, and it was turning towards Earth. Reaching out more than 120,000 kilometers from end to end, the sunspot group had several dark cores as large as our planet. Of greatest interest was and is the region potential for flares. Part of the group is sunspot AR2321. NOAA forecasters had estimated a 55% chance of M-class flares and a 20% chance of X-class flares from it.
The space race may be heating up down under, and it could include a spot for amateur radio. Here's Graham Kemp, VK4BB of the WIA News.
A group of enthusiasts plan to launch a 100% locally built balloon-carried glider in outback Queensland. This is a possible forerunner to getting the country back in space. Australia once had space launches from Woomera in South Australia, and over the years there's been talk of other launch sites, but nothing appears to have happened. However, Project Thunderstruck, headed by father and son Robert Brand, VK2URB, and Jason, VK2FJAB, has an ambitious venture that promises to see a glider lifted by a balloon to an altitude of 45 kilometres, and this from Longreach in September. From there, the glider will free fall, reaching supersonic speed for a short time. The Phase 1 balloon and glider flights are to be recorded by telemetry and cameras. A suitable ham package for each phase of the Thunderstruck project is now being sought. In 6 or 7 years, the knowledge gained through Thunderstruck may lead to the launch of CubeSats carrying amateur radio to the planet Mars.
You'll learn more at projectthunderstruck.org. Tom Medlin, W5KUB, has expanded his Tuesday night amateur radio roundtable video webcast to include simulcasting on shortwave over WTWW. WTWW is a 100-kilowatt international broadcaster located in Lebanon, Tennessee. As of April 7th, it began carrying the audio of the W5KUB webcast on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time in the United States, which is 0100 UTC on Wednesday. Shortwave listeners have the option to go to W5KUB.com and join in on the video webcast and chat room. And since many hams got their start in shortwave listening, Tom plans to add a shortwave segment to the show. To watch Amateur Radio Roundtable, go to W5KUB.com and click on Live Events. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for over 37 years in counting, at www.arnewsline.org. For Stephen Kinford and N8WB, Heather Emby, KB3TZD, and Graham Kemp, VK4BB, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.